Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be on with you this Monday morning. I am coming to you from Northwest Indiana. I was visiting one of my new clients, Briar Ridge Country Club here, just a little south of Chicago. And I'm actually stuck in my hotel room for the day. I was heading out this morning and my flight got delayed due to 50-mile-an-hour winds, which serves me right for trying to leave Florida when it was 82 degrees and coming to a place like this time of year. I learned my lesson. Well, I hope that you are going to join Michael Crandall and the gang over at Club Benchmarking's reception tomorrow night, where we're launching the ABCs of Plutonium Club leadership at the CMAA World Conference. But if you're not, then make sure to check out plutonium.club. We just got the new website rocking and rolling for you to see what the book's all about. And you can download right now 2 free chapters of the book and see what you think. So it's plutonium.club. Head on over there. Now it's time for our featured interview of the day. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome Corey Saban of newstation.com. He is the founder, and we're excited to have him on Private Club Radio. He's a former Emmy-nominated and Associated Press award-winning TV journalist. Corey's media career encompassed interviews with some of the world's most recognizable figures, a virtual who's who of newsmakers from presidents to Pulitzer Prize winners. As an accomplished speaker and 15-year news veteran, Saban saw how the media landscape was changing and created newstation.com, which helps country clubs communicate more effectively through spokesperson-driven videos that get clicks, calls, and engagement from your members and prospects. Corey, welcome to Private Club Radio, man.
Thank you so much, Gabe. That's a heck of an introduction.
Yeah, well, I'd love to just figure out how you came up with this idea and what was the hole that you saw that you needed to fill.
Well, one of my good friends is the former general manager and COO down at Boca West, and that's J.D. Pietro. And we were talking, and I was looking on social media and seeing that he was doing a stay and play program on Facebook, and he had posted a flyer. And like everybody else, I zipped past it on Facebook on my phone, and like everybody else, I couldn't read it. So the idea came to me, what if we put this into a video with a spokesperson that added the layer of testimonial talking about the club, and more importantly, using a former news person because they're not going to and ah or stutter. And I showed it to Jay, and Jay loved the idea, and he said, I love this. And I said, well, let's try it. So Jay tried it, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. On Facebook, it blew up because they tell you get about 135% more reach with video than pictures. They sent it out in email, and the members loved it because, again, it's just as simple as clicking a button, and they're watching and getting an update, and they shared it on their website for the search engine optimization results.
So, cool.
So hence, an idea was born, and Jay shared the idea with a lot of his colleagues in South Florida, and we've been partnering with Boardroom Magazine and many other Copland, Keebler, Wallace, etc., and producing
That's
videos.
so cool. So, clubs can use these basically for any type of event that they're putting on, it sounds like, or whether that's a member event that's happening at the club. Maybe you've got a Mother's Day brunch happening, or anything that you're looking to maybe market to. Is that correct?
Yeah, the whole idea is anything you would put in print, you just send to us, and then what our team does is we write it up and send it back to you as a script, and then you approve it, and 48 hours later, you have a video. So far we've seen clubs using it for, any type of event, whether it's, a musical event, a comedy event, planning weddings, why you should join the club, why the club is the right place for you to play golf because we have 4-hour rounds. We've also seen clubs use these videos to highlight construction projects, to talk about issues that members are struggling with, i.e. not cleaning their divots on the golf course. We've also seen member use for merging the POA and the HOA. Anything they would put in print, including the president's letter, they send us, and then we go ahead and turn around and videofy it. So some of the case uses are some that you wouldn't expect, but it works.
It's amazing that you can turn it around in 48 hours. That's shocking to me because I came out of the film world myself. That's kind of how I got my start in this communications business, and that's pretty incredible. How do you make that happen?
We look at it and we said, what's a differentiator? So our whole company is just like Uber is to the taxi industry with disruption, and this is not that big a comparison because we're certainly not Uber by any means. But we looked at it and said, professional spokesperson videos. Well, normally you'd pay the professional spokesperson about $500 an hour, and then you pay a camera crew, and you do all this, and it worked out to about $1,000 a minute. So we said, well, how can we work backwards to cut that cost? And what we did is we wrote some proprietary software for the editing. And now what we do is, we'll have the club spokesperson wearing the club shirt, and boom, get that out, and then it goes right through our editing system, and we're just able to get it out in 48 hours through that system. Additionally, we hired all former news people, so news people understand the importance of a deadline, the so what factor, and really how to write to tell a story, because it's stories that move us, as you know, and we hear so much about storytelling, so the videos tell a story and they're visual. And our intent is just help the club engage.
Yeah, I think that's an important differentiation for folks to know, that it's you're hiring actual news people that have been in the news business that are actually producing these videos, right?
Exactly, yes. So they're all former news people. As news people, we're trained in storytelling. We're trained that the audience has a remote control, and that's boom. If you don't engage them in 6 seconds, they're gone. So these people know how to write. They know how to use natural sound from an event to pull you in. They know how to use descriptive words like imagine to capture your attention. And they do a fantastic job of just getting those videos together and then sending them back to the club, and the clubs use them everywhere. It's crazy how times have changed, but if you think about it, we used to just get our news in one place, the television, and now we're getting bombarded with alerts on our phones. And stats show the 3 sites we all visit the most are Google, YouTube, and Facebook. Those are the most trafficked sites. So we always say to clubs, hey, it's important to share your content there because that's where your membership is. And if they're a little bit younger and not baby boomers, if they're Gen Xers, also include it on Instagram because they're there as well.
Well, I think what I liked about your videos when I saw them, I've seen a few like you've done for Copland, Keebler, and Wallace and a few others that you've done for some clubs. And I think what I liked is that you're using the video platform, which, as you mentioned, the younger generations want more video. They want to consume things a little bit differently than their dads and moms did. But you're also doing it in a newsy way, which I think still appeals to those older generations, so the boomers and upwards from there. So have you found that your videos are able to really connect and kind of go through all these different strata of demographics?
Gabe, you just hit it on the head. So what we did when we were coming up with the intent was, how do you handle all 3 generations? So what we did is we looked at a great deal of the research from Pew Research, and we found, for example, baby boomers. 52% have both a cell phone and a laptop, and 56% consider themselves video regulars. Why? Because they appreciate technology, and they remember a time when finding information was not as easy. Now, what we found, the difference between the boomers and the Gen Xers, was the boomers will watch up to 3 minutes of video, whereas the Gen Xers, that MTV generation, video killed the radio star, they prefer 60 seconds or less. They're in a battle for time. We also found the difference between those 2 generations and the millennials is they will respond to that professional spokesperson because they grew up in a time where the news was everything. Their parents would watch the news, their grandparents would watch the news, and that commands attention. What we also found from all of the focus groups that we did is it's that third-party testimonial talking about you or your event adds that validation. Whereas the millennials, they prefer something a little bit faster, a little bit shorter, to the point, more music behind it, more images as opposed to spokesperson driven. So we realized that all 3 generations would appreciate this style. So what we'll do is we'll do a lot of recap videos where we're just showing images to music, but then we'll also show preview videos where the person's talking about the club being awarded the Distinguished Club or Platinum Club honor, whatever it may be that they want to get out. So we can do whatever they want. But we find that the spokesperson from our studies show that for Gen Xers, baby boomers, and seniors, they respond to it, and it gets them to
That's
act.
really cool. Let's talk about some projects that you've had recently and some things that were really unique or interesting. Any stories come to mind?
There's one that does. There was a club pushing out a comedian named Dan Natterman. And I was saying to myself when we saw the flyer they sent us, well, just like everybody in the audience is saying, who is Dan Natterman? And I've heard of Chris Rock. I've heard of, obviously, Kevin Hart, well-known comedians. And the club was struggling getting attendance to this. So what our team did is they told the story with the so what factor. They went to his YouTube channel. They took clips of him telling jokes. And they highlighted him and validated him by showing, the David Lettermans of the world and the other talk show hosts of the world, introducing him on their shows. And they told the story that way so that the audience at the club would say, okay, here's this guy, Dan Natterman. He's established, and here's one of his jokes. Now I have a sense of his sense of humor. So that was a really cool way they told the story that I was impressed with because it grabbed your attention. I also love when they do the recap videos for the holidays for the clubs, and the clubs will just send us some images and we'll say, let's take a look back, because what happens is the members love to see themselves. Club's smart. They'll share those videos, tag those members, and then the member has a feel good. Hey, my club's thinking of me. Or another recent project we did for a club, another video, was they wanted to highlight their chefs. And what we did is we highlighted the chefs, showed their cuisine, and then at the end, we said, which one is your favorite, so that you can encourage member engagement, because everybody wants to feel like they're part of the conversation, and that's what social media is about. So those are three that just jump at me from off the top of my head. But that's the idea, is you want to get people engaged, you want to get them talking, and you want to create that feel good so that when the member leaves, they're thinking about you and telling their friends that, hey, my club wants my voice. They want me involved.
I like the member recap. I hadn't seen any of your samples of that, so that's interesting. But what I like about that idea, I remember hearing Elon Musk talk about when you're building a city, you've got problems, right? Because we build vertically, for instance, and people are stacked on top of each other in these big apartment buildings. Whereas we drive linearly on the road, and that's what causes traffic, because we're building up in a 3-dimensional space, but we're only driving in this 2-dimensional space. What's interesting about what you're doing with video is now you've got a lot more information that can get packed into a smaller, more digestible piece of content. You could never fit all those pictures of people and their families having fun at the parties on just one little flyer or one social media post, but you can do that with video, so you can pack a lot more punch. I just think that's a pretty cool concept. That's a really interesting use of it for sure. And you're right, members just love to see themselves. That's like we used to do a lot of newsletters, and the big thing was we wanted to have a lot of pictures of the members throughout the newsletter in these big galleries that all the membership directors wanted to see those in their newsletter. So that makes a lot of sense. That's pretty cool. Well, let's talk about the SEO benefits of video too, especially talking about YouTube. We know YouTube's the number 2 search engine in the world, only second to Google. So what are some of the SEO benefits of actually taking your club flyers and information and putting that out in video?
Oh my goodness, the stats are ridiculous. Well, Google owns YouTube, so it's always going to populate video higher. So with videos on your website, they tell you you're increasing your Google rank by 53 times. You have a greater probability of showing up on page 1. Videos and email increase your click-through rate by 96%. Then you have videos on Facebook we talked about that get at least 7 times more engagement than photos and text. And then video is just incredible to have on all 3 of the Google, Facebook, and YouTube platforms, because we're finding information everywhere. It's information saturation. So if you can be on YouTube and have your content there, and it's just evergreen content, maybe about your weddings, maybe about your chef, whatever it is, you never know who's searching for what and where they're going to find you. On your website, it tells a story, because as you know, many clubs have that fantastic $20,000 to $30,000 about me video of the club. So they hook the member that way, but then all of a sudden the member gets there and then they're handing them a flyer. So those flyers get lost and left behind. So what I always encourage people to do is Google web video statistics 2018 or 2019 to see what comes up. And they'll see a litany of stats. One that really jumps out at me is 59% of executives, 62 or older, would prefer to watch a video about a topic than read.
Wow.
And as a former broadcaster, I'm always fascinated by how the newspapers evolve, because as we recall in 2008, you saw how the newspapers were struggling, but the ones that didn't adapt perished. And then the ones like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times have thrived and survived. In fact, the Times just reported $24 million in growth, and what they said is we're in a post-text future, with video and audio becoming the norm. So for a newspaper to tell you we're in a post-text future is one, ironic. But the second thing is they're seeing that they needed to adapt. So the Times has a very robust YouTube channel with 1.5 million subscribers. They have a whole section on their digital landscape, Times Video. And all your major newspapers are doing that, and they're trying to survive because they realize that we're all mobile, we're all on the go, and we're watching. We find all of our information on our phones, with 91% of us never 5 feet from a device. So that's where your members are. So that's where you need to engage them.
That's wonderful advice. And I hope that clubs listening to this will actually take you up on maybe exploring doing this for their club. So I know you've got a offer for our audience. You're offering a free consultation in terms of their marketing efforts online. How do they take advantage of that, Corey?
They could simply email me at CSABAN at newstation.com, and newsstations NEWSTATION.com, or they can visit us at NEWSTATION.com. Or if they just want to give me a call, 561-626-9809, we could schedule something. But what I'd like to do is I'll offer a deep dive into what they're doing for marketing and how they're getting the message out. And, whether or not they need to be working with us or somebody else. So a lot of clubs, we realize, don't have the budget to spend $35,000 to $40,000 on a new employee that could just go out and do videos and handle all of their marketing online with video content. So the intent was, instead of paying for a new employee and paying benefits, why not outsource it to another company that for less than $6,000 a year, they can get that video communication and see the results. I'd be glad to work with the clubs and go over their marketing plans and strategies and share some ideas and tell them what other clubs are doing that is working well. Because in this day and age, it's a very competitive marketplace. So you need to stand out and tell a story, and your story needs to be consistent with your brand.
Absolutely. That's wonderful advice. And it is such a value, because anyone who's ever done video or explored video will know that basically you're talking $10,000 for a minute is a pretty good price for video. And if you can get a year's worth of videos for under $6,000 or around $6,000 a year, it's just an incredible value. So the way your packages work is you get a couple videos a month. Is that how it works?
Yeah, 1, 2, or 3 or more. And what a lot of clubs will do is they're seasonal. So they'll say, hey, Corey, I want to, do the 2 videos a month, and they'll pay in full for 24 videos. And then they'll start communicating in season with 2 or 3 videos a month. So you'll see that in the South Florida clubs. You'll see that in the Polo Club and Addison Reserve. They're pushing out, 1 to 3 videos a month. And then out of season, they're taking a little bit of a break, whereas the clubs in the Northeast and the Midwest are reverse. So they're just communicating with members that way. And, what jumps out at me is a club we're working with in Colorado. It's an older, more established club at Cherry Hills. And the general manager was telling me, hey, listen, this was an introduction, and we know our younger members loved it. And some of the older members at first were reticent. And he said, now on our 3rd video, they look forward to them, and we're seeing more clicks and more engagement. So that's the idea. And it may not be for everybody, but the idea is, adapt or perish. So I always encourage them to look at the stats and come in prepared and look at it, what's for them. The other thing, Gabe, is so often I see this, and it makes me nuts, is when a club has a strong reputation and then they pull out their cell phone, and you see the general manager holding the phone, giving a message, and they fail
Cheesy.
to realize that that hurts their brand more than anything, because one of the stats is 7 out of 10 of us have a negative perception of poor quality video. So when you see the GM doing this and he's stumbling and mumbling and you're looking at his nose hair and it looks like the Blair Witch Project, it's just so awful for their brand. And what they fail to realize as well, in this day and age, we have internet muscles. So people will go online and leave a bad comment on YouTube, or they'll say something on Yelp, and there's 26,000 reviews left every minute on these review sites. So people are not usually going there saying, I had a wonderful time. Most people are going and saying something negative. So be careful of what you put out there, because if someone sees it the wrong way, they will share it and you will go viral.
For all the wrong reasons. Yeah, definitely folks are so much more savvy this day and age. And I'll add to what you said, talking about those cell phone videos. I think what a lot of people forget when they're doing video is actually audio. And audio is half the video. So if you've got even beautiful imagery and the audio stinks because you didn't use a crew with a microphone, and you've got wind blowing and the all that type stuff going on, that's really, really off-putting. So again, just another reason to use Corey and his team. So once again, Corey, if you want to check out his operation, it's newsstation.com. Learn a little bit more about what you can do at your club, and that free consultation sounds like something that all our listeners should take advantage. So Corey, thank you so much for coming on and letting us know a little bit more about what you're up to.
Thank you, Gabe, and continue your great work that you're doing in the CMAA and the club industry as a whole, because what you do is vitally important. And what I love about what you do and what I do is they go hand in hand, because we're a content company. But you can have great content, but if they're not using someone like you to make sure it's getting found, well, great content is fantastic, but if I can't find it, what's the point? So you keep up the great work as well.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining us here on Private Club Radio today.
You got it, Gabe. Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us here on Private Club Radio. Thanks to Corey for being on the show, and I hope you do check out his company and learn a little bit more about what they can do for your club. I'll catch you back here next time, and until then, here's to your membership success.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by Concert Golf Partners, helping to preserve and enhance private golf and country clubs. Concert Golf has the capital, expertise, and private club hospitality experience to help upscale private clubs achieving long-term success and membership growth. For 25 years, Concert Golf has allowed private club members to focus on simply enjoying their club. Visit concertgolfpartners.com to learn more about the recapitalization process.